Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today on Erika Vision and Adventures with Erika, whichever one you want to say. Today is a special video which we're going to get into. I'm not going to draw out the introduction. It is everybody wants to know, oh my goodness, did you guys hit the lottery? What happened? How did you get a camper and have it a brand new one at that, brand new to us? So everybody wants to hear my testimony. So this is what that's going to be. It's going to be my testimony on how God answered me through a text message. So stay with me as we get started now. Okay, everyone. I am, this is going to be something very, I'm going to try not to be emotional about it, because when I think about, all the things that we as in people in general have been through, and, it is truly amazing when you can cry out to the Lord and he literally hears you and answers you back. So, most of you don't know that I had quit my job back in March. I had 8 years with the federal service, and I was experiencing symptoms of a nervous breakdown. And so I just decided that I was going to take some personal time and switch gears and try to do something else and kind of work on my mental health. So, with that comes its own challenges, right? Because you have a savings, and let me tell you, you never can have enough savings. But you have a savings, and throughout your travels, the well eventually runs dry. And so, even though we worked for the summer, about the time we got back here to Nashville, we were just about done with our savings, right? And so, just because you're almost done with your savings don't mean your monthly bills don't stop coming in. So we had the camper, we had the truck, we had the camper insurance, we had the truck insurance, and not to mention phone bills, food, gas, paying for campsites. It was just getting really overwhelming. And I was trying to work at the elementary school as a substitute teacher, and I can tell you, I remembered quickly why I had to stop working, right? I enjoyed it. It was very rewarding, but I found myself just kind of dreading getting up in the morning, because it was like everything was becoming too much. And so we had started trying to do Instacart, and that works when it works. And when it doesn't work, you can end up owing yourself, because you could be driving and just not make enough and spending more money in gas than you are making. So one day, my daughter asked me if I can help with the grandkids. And so I was feeling extremely discouraged. Extremely. I was like, Lord, I need to be working. But I know my daughter needs my help. Help me to have a grateful heart for, what you've done for me and all the things that you will do. But today I am just struggling. Everything just seems overwhelming. And Cedric was out working, and I was at my daughter's, and I was sitting there in a chair. I had kind of straightened up for her, so when she come home, she didn't have to do anything. The baby was asleep, and I remember just sitting in a recliner chair, and tears just started streaming down my face. And I was, in my mind, I wasn't talking out loud. I was just having a conversation with the Lord. And I was just saying, Lord, I am coming apart at the seams right now. Literally, I am overwhelmed. I am stressed. All this feels like a lot. And when you're dealing with anxiety and depression and panic attacks, it's different than how a normal person deals with stress, right? For you, it's like, okay, you shake it off, you keep moving, eventually things work out. Well, imagine how you feel 10 times elevated, right? And not only do you feel that 10 times elevated, but your health starts to take on the symptoms that your body is feeling, this tenseness in this flight. So I started having those heart attack feeling symptoms again. My neck was starting to hurt all the time. My shoulders were locking up, and my body just felt like it was kind of reacting but turning on me at the same time. And that plays mind tricks on you, because you start feeling like, am I having a heart attack? Is this what it feels like? What am I going through? What's happening? You start feeling super anxious, and then all you think about is just kind of shutting down, like feeling like you need to find your happy place. Well, that day I was there. I was 110% in that place where I was one step from going to the emergency room. And I instead of calling somebody, because after a while you start feeling like nobody understands what you're going through, right? And so you try to talk to people, and after a while they kind of just want you to snap out of it. They really get the attitude of, okay, just pull it together, move on, you got this, and they give you the cliches and all that kind of stuff. And that day I didn't want to hear that. That just was not working. So I didn't bother to call anybody and try to do talk therapy. I just decided I was going to talk to the one person that I felt like if anything could be done, he could do it. So I'm sitting in a chair and tears are coming down my face, and I'm like, Lord, help me, because I'm mentally struggling. Okay. My body, my mind, everything is on the shutdown, and it takes me too long to come back from that, and I know I'm doing something that's needed, but help me, because I feel like nobody understands at all. And the journey begins at that point. That mental surrender of just crying out to the Lord that one day in a chair, in a room, by yourself, not out loud, not in an accusatory tone. I wasn't saying, Lord, you could help me if you wanted to. I was just raw-hearted saying, I need you right now. About 10 minutes later, a lady, precious lady from church, texts me. And it's not a lady that I normally talk to. It's one of those people that you say, hi, how you doing? Happy Sabbath. And they go on their way, you go on your way. She reached out to me and she said, simply, how are you doing? And I thought that was weird, because it's not like she and I dialogue every day, or she knows my situation, so she's talking to me about it or checking on me. It was just out of the blue. And she said, how are you? And I told her, I said, well, you want to know the truth? Because sometimes people don't want to know the truth. She said, yes, the truth. And I told her, I'm just struggling mentally, and I'm struggling physically and financially, but God is still good even when I'm sad. And she answered, I know no one understands, but God will help. And I paused for a second and I started thinking, and I was like, why would she say that? And quickly I recollect the conversation I just had in my mind with the Lord, where I had just said those words to him. And I asked her, what made you reach out to me? Why did you say that? And then she began to respond in a manner that I felt like she was not private to the conversation that the Lord and I had had. So she wasn't quite picking up on why I was asking that. And the Lord sent her through a text to ask me how I was doing, and to tell me he understood that nobody understood what I was going through, and that he was going to help. And the things that transpired after that, I could have never in my wildest dreams, you couldn't have told me that was going to happen and I would have believed it. Not at that moment in time. And so she, we continued to talk through text for a few minutes. And then she said, what's your Cash App? And I gave it to her. And I tell you, you guys, she sent me exactly what I needed to pay the car insurance that day. So the Lord had provided for my needs, and I was happy right then. And I started crying. I was like, Lord, thank you so much for hearing and listening to me in a way that you answered me via text by saying you understood what I was going through. And it didn't stop there. She ended her text with, do not worry, the Lord will provide. And I'm just thinking that's just the end of it. And I said, okay, thank you. And I told her that I received her gift and I really appreciate it. And that was the end of our conversation. Now, what transpired the very next day is mind blowing, right? Because let's remember what she said, do not worry, God will provide. The very next day, another kind-hearted, funny, sweetest pie person, I can say that now because she's become my dear friend, reached out to me where she saw, we were both a part of a group, traveling group, RV traveling group on Facebook. And I had posted some information about, working online and trying to find stuff I could do from home, because I knew that going to the school and doing Instacart every single day from the time I wake up till 10 o'clock at night was just taking a toll on me, right? So I put that question out there, and you know how when you ask a question and nobody really answers the question, they kind of give you their opinion and advice, and I wasn't looking for that. But she reached out to me because apparently, you can click on people's names and go to their page, and I guess she did that and saw I had a YouTube channel. And she went to my YouTube channel, watched a few of my videos, and the very next day, she and I had never spoke before. Before that time, she said, hey, I've been watching some of your YouTube videos, and I think this would be a great place for you to travel to. And she gave me some information about, things I could check out. And so I was like, thank you so much for reaching out. I really appreciate this. This sounds awesome. But right now we just, can't afford to travel. But we will be getting back out on the road really soon. And they responded back, well, I just felt led to reach out to you. And the Lord instantly brought to my mind the conversation the day before. And I said, really, and I just kind of brushed it off because I didn't brush it off. I didn't read into it because I really didn't expect anything to transpire past that. And so I was sitting in my car in a parking lot, and they said, well, I feel led to share with you, and so send me your Venmo. And I was like, okay. And I was kind of leery because, a lot of people scamming nowadays. It's around income tax time. I didn't know how. I'm not, up on the latest schemes of stealing. So I didn't know if there was a new way you could steal people's information by getting their Venmo name. You can go in and change their password. I don't know. So I was a little leery. And so for a quick second, I called Venmo and asked them, and they were like, no, we're pretty secure. You're good. So I gave it to them. And the next moment, a gift came in that blew my mind, right? And so when I was sitting in that parking lot, I was waiting on a ride to come through so I could go in the store and work. I prayed after I talked to her, and she asked for my Venmo. I sat there for a second. I was like, Lord, it would be really nice to have XYZ. And I said it'd be really nice to have XYZ. That would kind of help cover things and really help a lot. And so a few seconds later, my phone goes off, and it was unreal. The very thing I had asked God for, that's what came through. And I was a blubbering mess. The tears start coming down my face. I didn't even know what to say to them. I didn't even know what to say to myself. I didn't even know if I should tell anybody. I didn't know. I was like, well, maybe I should wait till it's clear before I say anything. And I got back on the text, and I was like, oh my goodness, you did not have to do that. And they were like, it's my pleasure. Don't worry about it. It's a gift. And so the gift read, keep traveling. Take this. Don't worry. Keep going. And I just cried because I had just asked the Lord for that exact amount. And I was telling him how overwhelmed I was feeling. So that day I said, I'm going home. I'm going to go home. So I went home. I didn't say anything to anybody. I was just trying to wait and make sure this was even real. And the next day, it came through. And I was like, okay, I'm going to work and I'm going to build on this and I'm going to make sure I have enough. And I was still relying on myself. And I was like, thank you, Lord, for what you've done. But I was relying on myself, and I turned on my phone and I was thinking I was going to work, and nothing came through. I mean, nothing, not one job worth taking came through. And the Lord spoke to my self-conscious. I'm not claiming to hear audible voices from the Lord. I think he speaks to us when he's having a conversation with us through other people, through his word, and sometimes through our thoughts, like the implant of thoughts. And he implanted the thought that you said you needed a rest. I'm going to give you a rest. And we had planned to go to Florida, but we couldn't afford it. So we just decided not to go. And then I said to my honey, I said, hey, tomorrow we're going to Florida. So let's get the car ready. Let's do what we got to do. We're going to take a little vacation. We're not going to be gone long. We have a membership with 1,000 Trails. If you don't know what that is, that's like a camping membership where it came free when we bought Journey, and you can camp in certain regions for free at campsites with hookup and the whole nine. So I had been trying to make reservations there, and they were like booked solid because it was in Florida, and that's where the snowbirds go. Everybody goes there, and they didn't have anything available. The day before we wanted to go, guess what? It was available the entire time we were looking to be there. And so we got up the next day, we gassed up, and we headed out, and we had a wonderful, restful time, And whenever the Lord bless you, the devil always wants to come in and steal that joy from you. So while we were in Florida, at the time we were staying in my daughter's driveway, and some things transpired with the homeowners, and we couldn't go there. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? We just came to Florida, and now, we got to go back. We got to try to figure out what we're going to do. And it almost, that instant panic and worry. And I said, Lord, you know what? You can do anything, right? You just proved that. You just proved that over the last 3 days that you could do absolutely anything. So I'm just going to trust that you saw this was going to happen ahead of time, and you'll take care of it. And so he did. He provided the money we needed, so when we got back, we could afford to stay at a campground. And we had a good time. And on the way back, guess what? The tire sensor things start going off, and we're like, oh my goodness. We were at the Florida-Georgia line, right close to it, like by Jacksonville. I was like, oh goodness, great. Now we got tire issues. And the Lord held those tires together all the way back to Nashville. And it came on, but it hasn't come on since. And the Lord just kept blessing, right? And so I'm like holding on to a little bit of money I had left. And I'm like, okay, trying to make a decision. It's like, we need to pay Journey, but if we pay Journey, then with what we have, then we'll have nothing. And then we'll still need to pay it again the following month. I was like, so what do we do? So I started praying about it, and I was starting to worry as soon as we got back. And my sister said, Eri, why don't you stop asking the Lord for money and ask him for a new camper, right? She was like, pray, Lord, you've proved yourself before. You've proved yourself lately. Lord, I ask him. And I started thinking, this might be just crazy enough to work. And so I prayed, and I said, Lord, forgive any sins that will stop this prayer from happening. You have proven yourself 110%. And my sister says that I should rely on you for this thing. And so I felt like, if you know the story of Abraham, when God and the angels came to visit him and told him what they were going to do to Sodom, and he starts saying, Lord, if there are just 40 righteous, will you save Sodom? Because he knew his nephew Lot was in Sodom, him and his whole family. And he said, yes, for 40 righteous. And then he said, Lord, please don't let your anger wax hot with me. If there's 30 righteous, would you save it? And he said, yes, for 30 righteous. He said, Lord, I know you just said yes to 40. I know you just said yes to 30. But if there was 20 righteous, please don't be mad with me. And the Lord says yes. So I felt like that. I was like, Lord, I know I've been praying that you will help. I know I was praying that you would give me a rest. And I know you've done all those things. But we still need a home, right? We still need something that we don't have to pay any payments on. And I was praying for something used. I was like, Lord, just anything, so we could take this thing off of our plate and we don't have to be stressed and worry about it. Because if you are married or you have a spouse or in a relationship, finances is a real strain on it, right? Because everybody's high strung and everybody's feeling the stress of having to meet these financial obligations. And I was like, if I take what I have left and I pay it, that's it. And then we're going to be right back where we started next month. But Lord, I trust you. So help us. And so I said, Lord, I know you just did this and I know you just did that, but we still need this. We still need this. And so I told my friend, I said, hey, I want you to help me to keep looking for a used camper. You know, anything you could find, send it to me and we'll take a look at it. So I started that prayer in Florida. So I was looking around in Florida. They had all this different stuff available. And I was like wanting to go take a look at it. But the reality is that you can't tow two campers. We were down there with Journey. We couldn't get the other one back. It would have just been trying to get something in storage, having gas to get back and then go back down there, pick that up. It was just a lot. So I stopped looking and I got back here and I started looking again. And my friend would send me stuff and I would be looking at it and I'd send her stuff, say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And this went on for a couple weeks. And finally, the Lord said, enough, you know, you've done your due diligence and I'm gonna do something. So I said, okay. You know, I was still looking. I was still trying to make things happen in my own resources. And finally, my friend says, let's look at something new. Because this looking for old is getting old. And we went to look for something new. And even that was a challenge because you have these expectations because you're like, okay, if I'm going to go into this, I'm going to need to find everything we're looking for and make sure we have it because we live in it. And it was either too heavy and the truck won't pull it, or it was the same layout as the other one and that just wouldn't work as a full-timer. You need a homely space. It's just, it does. And I wanted to feel like I wasn't on a forever camping trip, but that this was, when we came here and closed the door, it was home, right? So you keep looking, and then with that, the devil creeps in because he doesn't want you to feel like, you know, the joy of all of God's blessings. So you have those interruptions where he comes in and he discourages you and throw a monkey wrench in your plan. But he was in control 110%. Like the whole entire way, he knew what was going to happen when we didn't. So finally, my friend tells me, hey, I'm feeling led again, and this is what I want to do for you guys. And I've been a waterhead crying mess this last month, but these have been joys of tears of joy. And long story short, we found this one, Journey 2, our new journey, right? And when God does things, there is like almost zero resistance of problems when you're getting into it and he is opening up doors, right? Because you just walk through them. Doors you couldn't have opened, things you couldn't have, you couldn't have made happen, start happening, right? And you really see his hand and how he blesses people. I can tell you my favorite Bible verse over this last year that I have clung to, and I think David says it best, right? He says, I was young and now I'm old, but I have never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread. Can I tell y'all, I walked into a RV dealership. I had already picked out the camper online and it didn't have a price. And can I tell you, it was exactly what we wanted to spend, with exactly all the things we were looking for, and able to walk in there and pay cash for it and walk off not owing one red cent. That's overwhelming, right? Because it's like you went from a place of not knowing and thinking you're going to lose your home, your mental health feeling like it was in jeopardy, and one conversation of asking the Lord to just intervene on your behalf, to just help. He came in, and it didn't happen. Well, yes, it did. It happened all at once. He came in and he rescued us in a way that nobody could have predicted. Through people we can't say that had anything to do with us beforehand, right? He did it in a way that we couldn't take the credit. It's not because I worked for the federal government for 30 years and saved my money and retired and worked really hard. It's not because I was able to borrow the money and had it. And it was because of him and him alone, softening people's heart, having people reach out to us, having people that will hear him and listen to his voice to bless his people, right? And so in return, my prayer of thanksgiving was not just solely, Lord, thank you so much. It was, Lord, now please bless those people that they don't lack because they listen to you. So I started praying for them and asking the Lord to just continue to keep blessing them and showing them, and help me to show them love, to strengthen their faith in him. Because he didn't only answer my prayer, but they listened to him. So he's in their heart too. And so I started praying for them. Lord, help them, bless them, help them that they don't lack for being obedient to you, you know. And anything I could think of that I knew about them, I just started praying about that, because how can you repay people? You can't, you know, especially when they're doing something that you couldn't do for yourself. The best thing I could do, the best thing I could think of was going to my Father, who has shown me that his resources is endless and that he could use perfect strangers who now have become to feel like your family to bless you, and to pray blessings on them so that they can feel the same love of Christ that you felt. They can feel it too. And so this journey this last year, which this month, February, makes a year, has been one that has drawn me closer to the Lord more than ever, because I've had to depend on him for everything. See, before I worked, and it's easy to depend on yourself, because as long as you get up and go to work, you have a check coming in, and you're the provider, so you think. But when that money is gone, he became the provider. And I have countless stories on our journey where he has sent people to bless us in a way that is just mind-blowing, right? When we first started out, we met these two guys that befriended Cedric, and we were long gone, you know, another state away, and they contacted us and said, hey, I want to help you guys with your travel, and send us money for gas, right? We've met another couple who we were getting ready to pull out and leave, and they flagged us down and said, wait, we want to fill your truck up with gas. And then when they finished that, they said, hey, do you guys need anything? And bought groceries for us. And anything we could think of, they bought too. And the Lord blessed us, and he has continued to bless us. And I think that it's when you are faithful, or you try to be faithful, or you are obedient to his will. And I'm not perfect. Don't get that misconstrued. This is not a walk of perfection that you see in front of you. It's just, I try to be faithful in whatever God has called me to do, because I love him so much. And I know what he saved me from. And I've seen his handiwork, and I've seen his hand in my life, regardless of what the devil tries to make me feel, as though I'm not worth it, or nobody cares, or nobody hears. God hears. And he texts me from heaven through a woman that we're not besties, and through somebody else in another state I've never even met, who has become my dear friend. God can use anybody. And this testimony is not one of boasting, but of saying, call on your Father because he cares. He loves you. And he don't love me no more than he don't love me any more than he loves you, right? He loves you just the same. He died for you just like he died for me. And he wants to hear from us because he has blessings that we can't even fathom that he has. And so, even down to the dog, we prayed about the dog before we even got it, because Mr. Noodle was not the dog we were going to get. We were looking at a beagle. And we were talking in the car on the way, and we were like, man, we really hope he get him, because he had another application on him, and we were like the second application. And they were said Friday they called and said, hey, we couldn't get him neutered, so we'll have to do it on Monday, and if the lady doesn't take him, then we'll call you guys. And it's just been like up in the air, pins and needles. And I said, well, I'm going to look again and see if I see another dog on there that we could, possibly, if this one didn't work out. And Noodle was there when I looked at the bugle, right? But he already had applications on him from 2 other people, and they only allowed 2 per dog. So I said, let's just pray, because what we want is not just any dog, because dogs can be a nightmare, especially if they've not been treated well, right? So I said, let's pray. So we prayed in the car, Lord, help us to find the right dog that would be the perfect fit. And I wanted an emotional support, right? An emotional support pet. Somebody that when I'm feeling some kind of way, I can, we could kind of love each other, you know what I'm talking about. So I was like, somebody calm, a loving pet. And I went online about noonish, and I saw that Noodle was back on the market. And I said, Cedric, meet me over to the animal shelter at 2:30, because they're closed now to 2:30. And let's look at this dog. He was like, is it the bugle? And I was like, no, this is a whole nother dog, and we're going to go and see. So we rushed over there, and he was back there, and he was matted and he looked a little worn, and he was so mild-mannered. Because if you ever been in a animal shelter, the dogs, it's like prison. Like they're barking and they run up to the cage. It really is like a doggy prison, right? And he was in the back, and he was just laying there. He was very quiet. And I walked up to the cage, and I let him sniff me, and he licked my hand, and I told him, okay, we want to see him. And he just snuggled right into us, and we prayed for him. And the Lord even cared, but down to the dog choice we made, right? He even heard and held Noodle just for us, right? And so it was absolutely mind-blowing. Again, it's like, not only does God provide for our needs, but he even cares about the little things that we care about, right? Even down to the dog. He took Noodle off the market till we got the home, because he was gone. Before we got the place, he was already gone. We just picked up the camper Friday, and Monday we got Noodle. He was available, and we were the first and only application, because the other 2 people didn't pick him up. They didn't answer back, so they didn't come and get him. And he became a Hosley as of Monday. He is Mr. Noodle. And as you can see in the other pictures, he had a lot of hair on him, and he was very fluffy, and it was curly, but it was matted. So we had to take him and get him a shower, and he's right here. That's why I keep looking at him. We had to get him a shower and get him cut, and he feels like a brand new Noodle. And we just love him, and love having a part of him being a part of our new journey and our new family. And so, how did we get this camper through God's provisions, through his plan, through people that listen to his voice, through obedience to just wanting to do his will, because we don't nail it all right all the time, but just wanting to do his will. He cares about us so much. And I just want to encourage you, if you're in your season of struggle, talk to him. I don't know how he'll bless you. I don't know what he'll do, but he'll do something. I want to encourage you, because he will do something and he will answer you. He's not a God that sits in heaven that can't hear. And I'm convinced of that. He loves you. And so do I. So if you have a testimony, or this has been any kind of blessing to you, feel free to leave a comment below. I'm not doing this for likes and thumbs up and comments, but sometimes I think it's therapeutic. So people in the future, if they see this, they could be moved and hear all these other ways that God has blessed other people, that will encourage them to call on his name, because we are moving towards Earth's final days. And I think the Lord is answering prayers, because he wants us to get into a place to where we can trust him, and that we will believe that he will provide, and that he loves us and cares for us, and he is in heaven listening to our prayers and are willing to answer them. And I'm 110% convinced of that. And some of you who will watch this know who I used to be and who I am now. And I hope that itself will be a testimony of how good God is. So I want to end this video a little differently. I want to pray with you and for you. And I want you to continue to keep praying for us in our journey and our faith walk, because that's what this is. You know, it's a faith walk of trusting God every step of the way, and doing our part and sharing the gospel with people, and being willing to do for others as we go along our trip. We have opportunities to do kind acts and things for other people, and we want to continue to do that, because God has shown his kindness to us. So I know this video has already been way too long, and if you made it to the end, I'm super grateful that you stayed this long, and I hope that you will subscribe, because I don't know what else is going to happen, and I'd love for you to be there to witness God's wonder working power in these videos and in our lives. And you can see where we've been and our journey over the last year. And everybody keeps saying I should start a blog. Maybe I will. I'm really bad with keeping up updates on that, but maybe, I need to move on to that direction. But we're just going to close this one with the word of prayer. If you don't mind just bowing with me really quickly. Dear Lord, I pray that this video gives you all the honor and the glory that you deserve. And I pray that it touched somebody else's heart, that they will be moved to talk to you, and that they will be willing to start a relationship with you, not for the financial gain and not for the gifts, but solely for the comfort that knowing you brings, and that you will show yourself, God, in their lives, and that they will be encouraged in whatever it is they're going through, whether it's mental health, whether it's financial, or whether it's loneliness, that they know that you see from heaven and that you will help. Lord, I just want to say thank you so much for the things you've done in my life, that I can share them with the world and let them know that you are alive and well and in heaven, working things out for our good. We love you, and we thank you for all the things that you've done in the past, the things you've done in the present, and the things you will do in the future. Help us to remain faithful till you come back. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys so much for watching this video to the end. If you would like to support, our information will be in the description below. I'm going to drop a couple scriptures down there as well that I like to look at whenever I'm feeling any kind of way. I like to listen to audio verse as well, and I'm going to drop a link to that below. It's got some podcast stuff, some sermons, things that are very uplifting. I usually go in there and I search according to how I'm feeling. So if I'm feeling depressed, I listen to things that kind of uplift me with that. If I'm feeling like I just want to know how to walk with the Lord better, I listen to stuff like that. And it's just helpful. It's helpful to have little tools and things you can do And you can listen to that while you work out, in your car, while you're at work, cleaning up your house. It doesn't matter. So I hope you find the things I'm going to drop below helpful. Leave a comment. I love to read each and every last one of them. I will try to answer every last one of them. And I just want to tell you how much I love you, because God loves me. I can love you, and we can love each other. And thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.